The president also talking about the success of the economy since he took office. Watch.
135 times we broke a record. We had a stock market record. And that, to me, is not a stock market record. It's a record for 401ks. It's a record of people owning stock. It's a record of jobs. Joining
me now, Karl Rove, former White House Deputy Chief of Staff under President George W. Bush and a Fox News contributor. Good to see you. Merry Christmas.
Morning. Merry Christmas.
I wonder, what can you make as a political strategist? I know you don't support Nancy Pelosi, but as a strategist, what in the world is she trying to get done?
Well, she's trying to, as they said, leverage. The problem is she has no leverage.
Right.
Think about this. The Constitution says that the House shall have the, quote, sole power to impeach. For impeachment. The Senate shall have, quote, the sole power to try impeachment. So she has no constitutional role in the Senate, and she's trying to create one for herself. And look, there's as you know from Washington, there's always tension between the House and Senate. Nothing more than when each House tries to intrude on the prerogatives of the other, and no more than when they try and intrude on the constitutional prerogatives. So I don't think she's got any leverage. And the longer this goes on and the more she tries to play this game, I think it makes them look even more partisan, even more petty, and even more political.
She had said it wasn't political. It was about the Constitution. It was prayerful. It was all the rest. This, as you say, seems to play into the politics of all of it. And then you've got Cory Booker in the Senate saying Mitch McConnell's not going to be an impartial juror.
Well, the Constitution assumes that the Senate is going to try this case, but it doesn't assume that they're all going to come in with no feelings whatsoever. Mr. Booker himself, a little hypocritical. He's already said months and months ago, impeach President Trump. Every Democrat,
probably before the Ukraine call.
Exactly. Every Democrat member of the Senate who's running for president has already called for the president's impeachment. When are we going to hear Booker denounce himself and denounce Warren and denounce Sanders and denounce Kamala Harris and denounce Amy Klobuchar as being biased and incapable of serving on the jury? The jury will consist of Senate members who obviously have partisan backgrounds and partisan views, and some of whom have been open and public about them. But the Constitution assumes not that it's an impartial jury of one's peers. It assumes it's the United States.
So what's your recommendation as president? We teed up the economic numbers. It's not just the stock market, unemployment low, wages coming up, which both parties have been saying for a long time they want to see. If you think back to another strategist, and James Carville on the other side from you, it's the economy stupid. How does a president pivot from impeachment and focus in on that economy?
Well, he's got two big moments coming up. He's got the State of the Union address, and then he's the weeks leading up to it, the State of the Union address, and then he has the weeks leading out of it while the Democrats are fighting it out during February and March for their nomination. And the White House needs to understand. I think the president framed the message right last night. Economy is doing well, but the run-up to the State of the Union and the State of the Union itself are the opportunity to begin to say, I got a second act. Yes, the economy is good. That's not enough to get him reelected in most instances. Everybody wants to have a second act, and the second act is this prosperity that we're enjoying. We need to broaden it and deepen it and continue to grow it. And here are the 2 or 3 or 4 things that I want to do.
Let's talk about some of those Democrats. Elizabeth Warren seemed to have a moment that maybe has already expired in the debate by going after Buttigieg. Watch.
The mayor just recently had a fundraiser that was held in a wine cave full of crystals and served $900 a bottle wine. Billionaires in wine caves should not pick the next president of the United States.
Mr. Mayor, I am literally the only person on this stage who's not a millionaire or a billionaire. So if this is important, this is the problem with issuing purity tests you cannot yourself pass.
So, in fact, she can't pass the purity test because the AP, hardly a partisan organization, comes out, the Associated Press, and says she had a fundraiser at a winery before the campaign launched. Maybe the wine wasn't expensive. Maybe there wasn't crystal coming down from the ceiling.
It turned out they didn't serve $900 a bottle.
Yeah, it was only $48.
So, but look, here's the deal. His strongest line was the final line in this long litany he gave that night when he said he could have come at her strong and said, wait a minute. You transferred $10.4 million from your Senate campaigns to help fund your presidential campaign. And in 2 races for the United States Senate, you held plenty of fundraisers at exclusive venues, private clubs, fancy homes, God knows what, hosted by corporate CEOs and titans on Wall Street and rich liberals and billionaires. So don't be lecturing me about it. Now you're also, pure
Right.
now that you're running for president, but you had a much different attitude when you ran for Senate. And if you were honest about it, give back the $10.4 million that you transferred out of exactly that kind of
Last thing I want to get to, Republican Adam Kinzinger had this to say on CNN last night about the president and the state of politics right now. Watch.
When you start to see the people in the other party as the biggest enemy and not your actual enemies overseas, that's how democracies fail in the long term.
So you've made this case for how the president's got a strong economy, maybe comes out of impeachment stronger. We shall see. But in order to get those independent voters you wanted so badly for President Bush in 2004, does the president run the risk of turning them off with some of the rhetoric?
Yes, and that's why I think they're, look, in the final 5 or 6 weeks of the 2016 campaign, he used to get up there. You were at the rallies. He joked, they're telling me stay on script, Donald. And he did. And that caused, remember, 46% of the vote, 37% of the people who voted for him, saying, I like him, I think he's qualified, I think he's experienced, he represents change, and I'm voting for him. 9% said, I don't think he's qualified, I don't think he has the temperament, but he has change on his side, and I don't like her. And they voted for him. He's got to keep that 9% and grow it a little bit. And being the president gives him a chance to do that. So there's got to be fewer moments where there are fewer tweets, fewer moments where he's punching down. We really don't think it's good to.
He's got that opportunity, as you said, in the State of the Union.
And he's got it in the months to follow.
Merry Christmas. Appreciate you coming in.
To you. Thank you.